It's March. It's a new month. And you know what that means? New theme. What to do? We're theming it out this year. March is all about finances. Let's take this month. Let's get our skull spaghetti properly calibrated for healthy financial management. Let's go. You are listening to ADHD Big Brother, the podcast for adults struggling with their ADHD and their depression and anxiety and blech. I'm your host, Russ Jones. I'm an ADHD coach, and I run the Platinum Award-winning community coaching of the same name, ADHD Big Brother. And I also have ADHD and depression. It's craptastic. Welcome aboard. Let's learn some stuff, laugh at some stuff. And ladies and gentlemen, here's some stuff. Welcome. Welcome, one and all. It's the first podcast of March of 2025. How you guys doing? February was all about routines. We crushed it. We had some great workshops in the community. Dr. Shane stopped by just last week, rocked our world as always. You know, taxes are coming up. I'm not trying to freak you out. I'm just putting it out there. Taxes are coming up. This would be a great month to theme it on finances. I mean, could you imagine getting your taxes done and over with, and then we can turn the page on that turd mountain of a task? Turd Mountain, of course, we're referring to episode 92, appropriately titled episode, Turd Mountain. Check it out. All right, before we get to talking to Tina, Mathams, I'll give you my mental health update, as we do. We like to normalize talking about our skull spaghetti, the good, the bad, the weird, and all areas in between. For the most part, I had a wonderful week last week. I had one instance worth mentioning of a glorious emotional dysregulation. Some things weren't going right one day, and my brain just wouldn't let me move on from it, sunk me into a dark place. I used the classic phone a friend technique, talked to my girlfriend, just shared how I felt, acknowledged it was bullshit, and there's, nothing to be done about it, but it's nice to express it, and she's super cool and super supportive like that. It's just an amazing human. Done and done. And that's that. I've been meditating a little bit more, and I think the routines that we worked on building in February, that really was super helpful this last month. And overall, mental health's looking good. Looking real good. So March is all about finances. I've got personally a lot of credit card debt, and I really love making budgets and then forgetting that I made them. What would be great is if we could bring in a ringer. Let's get an ADHD money pro in here, and let's get our shit straightened out once and for all. You want to? Because we got somebody. We got Tina Mathams. Tina is an accountant, an ADHD financial educator, author, and host of the ADHD Money and Finance podcast. After discovering her own ADHD, she combined her expertise with her lived experience to help neurodivergent individuals manage their finances because she's awesome. Through her online platforms, she provides practical strategies for overcoming impulsive spending, budgeting effectively, and building financial confidence. Tina is a sought-after speaker and guest expert in the neurodivergent community. Her mission is to empower ADHD adults to take control of their money and to do that in a way that suits their ADHD brain. That's awesome. She is absolutely sought after, and we sought after her. We sought, and we got. And now we all get to learn. So let's jump on in. Here's Tina Mathams and your old buddy Russ talking about finances. Let's listen in. I was talking to the community, and I was telling them that I'm going to be talking to Tina Mathams, and that the month is all about finances. And I think I mentioned that to you before over the email, but this guy was like, can you not do a thing about budgets? Can you go deeper? Because we are all, we're struggling. And I related to it big time because I, for one, I have like crippling credit card debt that I'm, for the past 5 years or so, I've been trying to work my way out of. But this is from decades of just the world's shittiest financial mismanagement, I guess. And then we're talking about people have bankruptcies, and I mean, we should get all into that. But can you talk a little bit about what you see out there and what got you into working in finance in the first place?
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess in the first place, like before the neurodivergence thing, I just started working in finance because I just really love numbers. I've always loved numbers. My favorite subject at school was maths. In my spare time as a kid, I loved doing like maths equations, all that kind of stuff. So it was just kind of a natural progression for me, I guess. But being undiagnosed neurodivergent in working in finance and accounting, it was really difficult. Couldn't figure out why I was struggling with timesheets and why I was struggling with my time in general, prioritizing organization, all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
It just didn't make any sense. And I just thought I was a really bad accountant. That's what I put it down to. And then fast forward quite a few years and the ADHD diagnosis came and everything just made sense. And at the time was I had my Instagram account where I was just posting about ADHD because I didn't
Oh,
know that there was an online presence of ADHD, like not as big as it is now. This was going back, I think, like 4 years. So it was a little bit smaller, but because my assessment and diagnosis came because of my son, I didn't know that people online were talking about this. So I thought that, I didn't know any other adult with ADHD, and I just wanted to put my story out there and, my experience as an accountant with ADHD and all that kind of stuff. So that's sort of what kicked off my Instagram.
okay.
That's all it was at first. And then because, of course, my Instagram handle is the ADHD accountant, people started asking questions like money questions and all that
Hmm.
kind of stuff. And it became very evident that there was a need to talk about money and ADHD because at the time, nobody else was talking about it. So, yeah, that's when I thought, well, I've got this lived experience.
Yeah.
I've got the professional thing to back it up as well. And that's when I switched my content from just talking generally about ADHD to talking about ADHD and money. And that's what set off everything.
What has been set off? Who are you now? What is, you exploded? And
Yeah.
who are you now? And the fact that you have the word math in your name seems a little serendipitous. I think that's the right word.
So many people say that. It's really
Yeah.
funny. So I have here in Australia, I have my own accounting firm where it
Hmm.
is like tailored to neurodivergent people. On the side, I also do some like money education, obviously all my social media content,
Yeah.
got lots of stuff coming in that way as well, like resources and things like that. I've got a book coming out as well
So
around the end of
awesome.
May. So that's pretty much in a nutshell what I do at the moment. And I guess to answer your other question that I just remembered, what I see out there when when I've worked with clients, because I used to do sort of one-to-one money coaching as well, and then talking to people on my social media, I think there's a big theme around, yes, budgeting and impulsive spending, all that kind of stuff, just money management and organization in general. But there's also this element of, past financial trauma and a lot of
Mhm.
emotions around our spending, feeling a lot of shame and guilt and judgment, like judgment of ourselves, judgment from other people that we carry a lot. And that makes people very avoidant of finances. So
I
there's that sort of element. If we go back to that email of going deeper, that's what the deeper issue is. It's all that internal stuff, the emotions, the judgment, the past traumas, all that kind of stuff, which then externalize into this avoidance and not following through with budgets and all that kind of stuff.
Oh man, I resonate with that big time in terms of the avoidant aspect. Because if I don't look at my finances, I don't see the monster. I don't see anything
Mm,
bad happening because I'm not looking.
yep.
You see that a lot with the ADHD folks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
100%. Yep.
yeah, that's so sad. Like it's sad to me. Like I'm looking back at myself about a decade ago, and I would buy things on credit because I could.
Mm,
There was no future thinking about ramifications or that's not your money. You do have to pay that money back. And
yep.
but in the moment it just means I get to eat dinner at a nice restaurant tonight because I decided that's
Yes.
what I wanted.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So
Yep.
how in terms of helping people with ADHD get on the other end of these types of things, what do you recommend?
So I do recommend, and it does sound really boring and a little bit fluffy, and I know it can be difficult to do the work, but it is a lot of that inner work. One thing that I have found with a lot of people that I've spoken to and worked with, like people come to me and just say, I'm just so bad with money. I've always been bad with money. But when we actually do the work, people know what to do. People end up being very good with their money once they understand how their ADHD affects their money. So
Hmm.
sometimes we don't even make that connection. And then doing that inner work of, trying to work through the shame and the guilt and the judgment and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, not being a therapist, I can't sort of work with any past trauma. So if we do identify anything like that, that's, for people's therapist and things like that to work through.
Yep.
But it's very, very interesting when I've worked with ADHDers, the difference from when they come to me to when they, then sort of exit our sessions. It's not the fact that we've put together a budget for them. It's not the fact that, we've done all these other external things. It's the fact that we've done the inner work, the awareness of how they're feeling around money, the awareness of why they're not checking their bank account, the awareness of all the avoidance and the why. And that's what tends to get people better at, budgeting if they want to, or, looking at their finances, tracking their cash flow, things like that. So that's how I find it works really well. And that's, I've been saying to people since I told them that my book has been coming out, my book actually goes into all that stuff first before we even get to
Oh,
the budgeting, before we even get to the other stuff. It's like, this is, what your ADHD is. This is how it affects your money. This is about emotions. This is about, our past money stories, all this kind of stuff. And then once we've spoken about that, then the book goes into things like budgeting and tracking your, expenses, cash flow, going through debt, all that kind of stuff. Because as we'll kind of, when we first started talking and I spoke to you about, budgeting's often, 5 steps down the track.
yeah, right.
That's why, because if you don't have that awareness, if you don't have that understanding, a budget's not going to do anything. It's just going to sit there and then you're going to feel like rubbish because you
Yeah.
can't stick to your budget.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
1000%. This is you're speaking directly to me right now. I absolutely. I've made budgets a millions of times, and
Yep.
okay, so I'm huge. Everybody that knows me in terms of ADHD Big Brother, I'm about the doing of the work. So if we're
Yep.
doing this inner, what does that look like? The inner work.
Yep. So it's looking like, uncovering your money story, which is basically like your money past. What has your money past looked like? What did money look like as a child? And I'm not necessarily talking about how much money people had, but what was the story around money with your parents, your caregivers? Often people have this story of parents or caregivers saying, we don't have that kind of money. We're not rich people. We're not this. We don't have money for that. All this kind of stuff, which then gives us this story as we go through life of like that's what we believe, and then we carry that into adulthood. So there's that part of it. And then that also gives you a bit of a mindset as well. Whether you've got like a fixed mindset or a growth mindset, if you are you're stuck in that story of your past and you think, coupled with ADHD, and then some people have this mindset of, well, that's just it. Because I have this past, because I have ADHD,
Yeah.
I'm not good with money. I can't get better with money. So rewriting those thoughts and rewriting that, that narrative of just because there's these things doesn't mean that you're bad with money, doesn't mean that you can't get better. So
Yeah.
there's that element of it as well. And then working through our emotions, like understanding what emotions you have when you look at, when you think about money, when you think about going through your bank account, what emotions are coming up, and not letting that make you avoid everything. Think about what emotions are there and why, and how can I work through this? How can I work with this to then be able to, get past that, to you know, start my budget or look at my spending or something like that.
Oh gosh. Okay, so my questions for this are I'm thinking about my own story. So
Mm,
and the way that I mean I'll just guinea pig myself. So the my money story I think in my childhood was that my parents were very quiet about money. We
yep.
seemed to be fine. We seemed to always be
Yeah.
fine, but nobody ever talked about it. And
Hmm.
they were very frugal in their choices. So they would like compare toilet paper and things like that,
Yep.
but I would never know. But when you were talking, I'm like, I think that my takeaway was, hey, we're fine. Just don't talk about
Yep.
it.
Yeah, which
Just
which is
shut up
obviously not very
about it.
helpful. Yeah.
Which makes sense for me just spending belligerently on a credit card to be like, I'm fine. I'm
Yeah.
not going to talk about it. I'm fine.
Yeah.
Um, but I carry with me also a very that which this I'm working on, but I carry a very strong oppositional feeling towards wealth
Hmm.
of it equals bad or something. And I know it's bullshit. I know it's
Yes.
stupid, but
Yes.
it's fed to me through the
Yep.
news. It's fed to me through all kinds of things. But I struggle with that. So now if okay, so now I take all this, not just to just give everyone my history or whatever, but so now I
Mm.
take all this and what do I do? How, like when I'm rewriting my money story, what does that actually physically look like? Is that me journaling? I love money and I make money, or is like what is the activity that goes along with this?
Yep. It absolutely can be. And just to sort of go back to that point that you were saying that you have this story about wealth because that's what's fed to you, 100%. And
Yeah.
that's the other thing. It can be, it's not only our money passed with our parents or caregivers, it can absolutely be, societal views and things like that, like what's
Hmm.
happening in the news, what's fed to us through social media. And there is this very big, being wealthy is bad. So that can also make us feel like, well, if I get out of debt, we have this narrative, if I get out of debt, then I'm better, and that might be bad. So I'm going
Right.
to stay in debt. Yeah. Yep.
Meanwhile,
So
we keep saying, I need to get out of debt. I really want to get out of debt.
exactly.
And then we
Exactly.
sabotage it.
Essentially, yeah. Yep.
Oh,
So yes,
dude.
it can look like journaling if that's something that people want to do, 100%. It's a case of it's a case of awareness and understanding of what those narratives are, what that past story is, what you tell yourself, awareness of that, knowing what that is, and then rewriting that. So if you I go through this exercise with a lot of people of whose views are these? Are they actually your own views or are they somebody else's? And as we've been talking about, is it parents, caregivers, social media, friends,
Oh, yeah.
teachers, things like that? And if they're not your own views, then what is your own view? What's your own view of wealth? What's your own view of financial wellness? What does that mean to you without everyone else's input? And that can be really difficult for people because I guess because it's so ingrained in our brains and our nervous system, we might not even not know what our
Yeah.
own beliefs and views are. So that's sort of the one thing. But the other thing is that we can be also, we just don't want to be honest with ourselves because, again, we're going to be scared of the judgment of,
Yeah.
even if we don't tell anyone, even if it's in our own journal or I often tell people to, voice journal if they don't like writing or they can't write or something like that. We also get scared of, I guess, yeah, the judgment from ourselves because, again, that's coming from external sources. People are going to judge me, even if they're not going to know, even if I'm not going to tell them. I still feel like I'm going to be judged. And that's, I guess like a bit of a self judgment because we're still getting
Yeah.
all those inputs from other people, from external sources.
I want to ask you about the doing of the thing. So,
Mm,
in my experience with people with ADHD, is a lot of times what we want to do is we want to our mindset to be changed, right? And we go, oh,
hmm.
I've got a new view about money. And if we think it one day, we all of a sudden I've declared it, so I become it, and then I'm done. And we all know that
Yep.
that's bullshit, and that's not how it
Yep.
works, right? And I really struggle personally, so I've never really advocated for it of
Mhm.
like affirmation type things of like
Yep.
I was saying what my mindset is or saying what my new view is. But what are your thoughts on I call them task formations, but like of things that we do to prove to ourselves that we are this new view of money? Does that make
Yep.
sense? Is there anything you
Yeah.
can recommend as a physical doing?
Yes, I guess when it comes to like affirmations and things like that, if people want to do them, obviously, the physical stuff is writing it down and, sticking a post-it note somewhere or writing it in a journal or things like that. But the thing is, it needs to be somewhat believable. So we can't go from like A to Z. We can't go from
Totally. Hmm.
I'm terrible with money to I'm going to make $1 million in my business this year because it's
I'm
not going to
Warren
be
Buffett now.
believable. Exactly. That's what, essentially that's what people are trying to do with affirmations. They're trying to just take too many steps. It's not
Gotcha.
believable. We don't believe it ourselves. And that's why we tend to, quote unquote fall off the wagon or something like that and go, well,
Hmm.
this is rubbish because I'm not
Yeah.
believing it. Affirmations don't work. It's not that they don't work. It just needs to be that, you just need to bring it down a bit. So rather than, that A to Z, it's more like just A to B. So if someone's feeling, terrible with money, perhaps their new affirmation could be something like, I'm going to learn, one of the ways to pay off my debt or something like that. So it's not even like, I'm going to pay off my debt this year. It's just that step of let me just look into this first. Let me get curious. And
Hmm.
then that might be a bit more believable for somebody. And then they've made that step up a little bit. And then it's just that step up, step up, step up. So once they believe, because they've done the thing, they believe that they can see how to pay off their debt, then it's the next step. Okay, I'm going to pay off, $5,000 this year rather than I'm going to pay off all my $50,000 of debt this year.
Yes.
Um, yeah.
Oh my God, that hit me really hard. I literally, short story, I went to the Trader Joe's this morning and went shopping with my girlfriend, and we were talking, and credit score came up, and we were just shooting the shit, and she's
Mm.
got a really high credit score, and she uses a credit card to buy things, and then pays them off, but because the points, right? And
Yep.
I told her, I was like, I don't use credit cards anymore at all. I've just banned myself from using them because I'm paying them all off. And I'm like, I
Yep.
think that is what you're talking about as that's my one step on the journey of I'm paying off my debt. I
Yeah.
I started the process of shutting it down,
Hmm.
and now am I right on track now? And now I need my next step after, like, okay, I don't spend on credit card anymore.
Yeah.
Now I'm
Yep.
looking at ways to pay down quicker, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly
Okay.
right. So you haven't
Yeah.
gone from, being in all this credit card debt to I've suddenly paid all this off because,
Right.
that's what social media and stuff tells us with affirmations and mindset and things like that. It's exactly that. It's okay, I'm someone that doesn't spend on my credit cards anymore, you've shut them down, whatever. And then the next step is, okay, now I'm somebody that's starting to pay off my credit cards. And then you just sort of step that through.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Brilliant. This is the pieces are coming together, Tina. They're starting to do. So
Great.
as we move into so I'm excited to work with you this month as like you're coming back right at the end of the month to check in on us
Yep. Yep.
maybe. Okay.
Yes. Yep.
What my hope was is for this process is that you give us something to do. You
Mhm.
you give us all of us that are in financial ruin,
Yep.
all of us that are like, what do we do? And what would be the actionable thing that we could do? And then I'll on the podcast next week, I'll just come in and talk about where I'm at, invite people to talk about where they're at, and
Mhm.
we grow throughout the month, and then come back at the end of the month and be on the podcast and give us the next step to take us into the future. Does that
Yep.
sound cool?
Yeah. I love
Oh
that.
my God, I'm so stoked. Okay, so what do you got for us? What would be the big idea?
So, I mean, I guess like, people listening might be at obviously different stages of
Hmm.
their, finance or whatever. But for people who really just are in that bit of, I've got no idea what I'm doing, I've got no idea how to organize this, I'm not sticking to a budget. I guess on theme of what we've spoken about, I would just love people to have that awareness and have that understanding of what they actually want with their money. So, putting aside all that external noise and things like that, what does what does financial management for you actually look like? Is it a budget?
Oh,
Is it you want to be somebody that tracks their spending? Is it is it that you do want to be debt free or something like that? Just have that awareness of who you actually want to be when it comes to your finances, and have a really good think about that. And I guess, from what we've spoken about, people, if they want to, can also do that. They can take that, thinking about their money story, thinking about their past, thinking about all that, what's all that input? What do I take from external sources and make myself believe it? They can do all that as well. And then that will bring them to a bit of a better awareness and understanding of who they actually are, who they actually want to be. And what does working on your money look like for you, not for your friend, not for your, you know, influencer person on social media who might have a completely different financial environment, but what is this for you? I think that is a really good first step, because
some.
it's hard to do all the other things when you don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we raise the bar on that one bit and say, because I'm super stoked to do this. So
Hmm.
here's my summary of this. Okay, I'm going to take the time to really contemplate my money story.
Hmm.
Historically, what has it been to me? I'm gonna fantasize, future dream. What does money management look like in an ideal
Yep.
world? What's my perfect vision of me? Um,
Yep.
I have my RV dream. I have like what I want to make, but I
Hmm.
but I don't know that I have what does my ideal money management vision look like? Like how do I
Yes.
handle? So that is I'll give an awesome think on that. And
Yeah.
then this is what I want to can I rate you tell me if it's a no, but
Yeah.
can I pick like what's one thing I can do that's in alignment with that future money management vision
Yep.
and make a go
Yeah.
of that one thing for a
Yeah.
week? Oh,
Absolutely. Yep.
okay.
So yeah, I guess for example there, if somebody's like, yes, I want to be somebody who looks at my spending, like I want to do that weekly, have a go. Just bring up your bank transactions for the past week, and just have a look at them. It doesn't have to be something that you sit down and you actually write down what you've been spending, and all that kind of stuff can literally just be something as simple as, I'm just going to bring up my transactions, I'm going to bring up my spending, and I'm going to look at them. Because that's going to be, if that is in somebody's financial future, it's going to give you a really good idea of, what that feels like. It's going to give you a good idea of the emotions that might be coming up in your body as well, that you
Mhm.
might be able to sort of have awareness of. And yeah, I think that's perfect. As I said, as long as it's like, that baby step.
Okay. Okay.
Not going too far where you're like, this is too hard, I can't do it. Just make it, I guess, remove any barriers is what I'm trying to say there. So,
Okay.
just make it a nice, easy step. But 100%, if somebody can identify that, go for it.
Okay. Awesome. This brought up another question too, which
Mm.
is how do you respond to people that are okay, if I'm looking at my finances, it makes me
Hmm.
uncomfortable. I don't like how it feels. I
Yep.
hate it. So how do you talk to people about that? Because my guess is that it's going to be uncomfortable, and that
Yeah.
it's not a thing that can magically go away. But how do you work with that?
Mm. Yep. So again, it's that, going back to journaling is great for this,
Hmm.
because writing down sort of, those, why you're feeling, not really why you're feeling uncomfortable. I guess that's sort of the step up, but what's feeling uncomfortable? Where are you feeling it in your body? Is it like a stomach feeling? Like maybe is it a bit of anxiety? Is it, maybe a bit of judgment? So the understanding why it feels
Hmm.
uncomfortable. And again, it's just that even if people don't understand why exactly, it's just having that awareness of, what am I feeling? Like, where is it in my body? Is it more that I just, is it sort of in my brain? Maybe just it's not feeling anywhere in my body, but it's my brain that's like, I don't want to do this, as a bit of resistance, maybe. So just having awareness, writing down what that actually is, how you're feeling uncomfortable.
Okay.
And then from there, I guess the next step from there is to go, okay, well, I felt these things in my body. So then try to sort of think about why that might be. So if somebody's feeling a little bit anxious, often that can be because, they don't know what they're spending. They don't know what they're going to find in their transactions. Because often we forget that we've purchased things, right? Because I don't know how it is over in America, but here, like we just
Yeah.
we tap our card, we tap our phone, our watch, whatever it is,
Yeah.
and we go and we forget about
Oh,
it.
but wait, but
I've been there.
there's always, literally always, that moment of fear and tension as you tap the card, waiting for the word approved to show up.
Yes. Yep.
I was like, you hold your breath a little bit and you're like, please don't
Yeah.
make this the one where they say declined.
Yeah. Oh, look, I've been there. I've been there where I've had to use like 3 different cards. And I'm like,
Yes.
oh, sorry. Oh, there must have been something come out of there. And really, like, I know it's just because, like, I've spent too much money, but I'm trying to make this story so it doesn't like make me look terrible. Um,
Totally.
but there's, I guess from there's always a reason for the emotion. Just like there's a reason for
Yeah.
behaviors,
Mhm.
there's a reason for that uncomfortableness, and it's just a case of trying to dig deeper to find out what that is. And it starts with just that awareness of where is it in my body, what's happening, why, how is it feeling uncomfortable, and then from there it's like, well, now that I can visually see these, again, even like writing down is really good to be able to visually see it. From there, people can sort of go, well, if I'm feeling anxious, like, why is that? And you just
Mhm.
keep asking yourself, why? Coaches often do that as well. They're asking those questions to get to the deeper meaning.
Mhm.
And that's what people can do for themselves. Obviously, if that's really hard, that can be hard for people who are new to that kind of thing. So, there's no reason why you can't work with a coach or something like that. If people can, if it's in their financial space right now,
Mhm.
they can also work with somebody to sort of go, well, what's happening? Why is this happening? Yeah.
Mhm. Cool. I'm really, really excited to do this work. This is awesome. And you know what I love? I love the fact that
Mm.
we didn't talk about budget. And I like that we
Yep.
didn't talk about any apps and any of hey,
Yes.
well, yeah, but what's my thing that I can do to plug all my data into? I
Yep.
love that we're not even touching that because it has
Yep.
nothing to do with that, is what I'm finding
Yep.
based on
Yeah.
this conversation.
Yep.
Okay,
Exactly
cool.
right. Yep.
Let's not
And now
corrupt it
you,
then.
yeah, and I guess now you're kind of seeing why I often say these things are actually down the track. We need
Yeah.
to address all this other stuff, because if you're just pulling up an app, or if you're just doing a budget, if you've still got all these issues around feeling uncomfortable with your money, feeling anxious about it, not knowing what you're spending on, all that kind of stuff, it's not really going to help with anything. It's going to help with a bit of awareness, yeah, but you still
Yeah.
need to, if you're having all these issues with impulsive spending and things like that, this is all the stuff that gets done to work on that. So then you can do the apps, you can do the budgeting if you want,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it really does feel like the apps and things like that are, it feels like our attempt, because I'm super guilty of that, of it's our attempt to make the crappy thing fun. I found a cool
Yeah.
app that does it all, and
Yeah.
it looks pretty and fun, and I want to do it, but I never stick with them. I never do
Yep.
it for longer than just
Yep.
the data entry. Is there anything that we're missing on your? This feels like an amazing primer on a month of
Mm.
finances, so I'm really stoked to move forward on all this. Is there anything that we're missing?
I mean, I guess as far as sort of, that sort of deep work that we're talking about,
Mhm.
I think that's probably, yeah, probably a good starter. We could go even deeper. We could probably talk for hours and hours. But we need that.
We'll save
We
it. We'll
need that.
save it. That'll
Yeah,
be
we'll save
phase
it.
two at the end of the month. How about that?
Exactly. Exactly, because we don't want to overwhelm ourselves as well.
Yeah.
It's like, if we give all this information, then we get to a point of like, I don't even know where to start, so I'm going to avoid it. So I
Yeah.
think that's probably a lot of information for people to hopefully go, okay, I've got this understanding of what it means to do the work. So let me start with this one thing, and then we can go from there.
I love that. Yeah, I love that because, and I know us. We are the people that are like, oh, I think I got an idea about this, so I'm gonna go
Yep.
from 0 to 1,000 and burn out, and it won't work.
Yeah.
What's your book called, by the way? I want to get it. How do I get it? It's
called ADHD Money. So
you don't say.
You don't say. I know.
That's right. That's right on the nose.
I always say to people, I'm not creative whatsoever. Like if people ask me to make a business name or something, like my accounting business is called Diverse Accountants but that's the thing. I know as an ADHDer, I just like it to be to the point. I want to know if something is for me. So a book called ADHD Money, you can't miss it. It's going to be for an ADHD. Yeah.
You know exactly. And then you have a podcast?
Yes.
And what is your podcast called? Let me guess. It's
Money and Finance podcast.
ADHD Money and Finance podcast. I wonder what that one's about.
Yeah. Well, yeah, take a guess. But yeah, with the book, it's kind of like it's available for pre-order. In Australia and the UK, you can get it on Amazon. It's not available yet on Amazon US. It should be soon. I think it's kind of just sort of making its way into different areas. But I just sort of tell people, if you just sort of if you Google ADHD Money, Tina Mathams pre-order, it will actually bring up a whole lot of links for whatever region you're in.
Okay, then how about I do this then? So the link it will be in the show notes to pre-order. I'll put the Amazon UK link in there. Because we're global here at ADHD Big Brother. We're all over the place. We'll put that link in there. And then when the link for the US shows up, I'll put that in the show notes as well. And then the link to your podcast, like everything. How do people connect with you on Instagram? Or are there other socials that you're on?
There are, but I always say Instagram's probably the best place to go because I've got that link in bio situation happening. So you can always just go to my Instagram, go to like the bio page and then click that link. And that link will then give you all these other links to, listen to the podcast, I've got a Facebook group as well, which is called ADHD Money Community. And then, it'll give you all those other things.
Oh, that's awesome. So the Instagram link in the bio of the Instagram will give people access to your community on Facebook and all that stuff.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's awesome. Yep. Thank you so much for doing this. This is monumentally helpful. I cannot even tell you. I'm taking so much out of this personally. So thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. This has been fun.
Wow, this is amazing. Are you guys doing this? Are we going to do this together or what? Let's get a wrangle on our finances this month. So we're kicking it off. Here's my summary. Here's what I'm posting in the community. This is the challenge that I'm going to put to everybody there, and I'm put it to everybody listening right now. Let's get our money story going. And let's get the vision of what does financial management look like to us? Let's do the work. So we all have 7 days now to take one work session, 2 work sessions, and really think about this money stuff. And then what's one action item that we can do to move the needle forward towards that vision of financial management. And please go down into the show notes and connect with Tina. Thank her for the amazing information that she gifted us. And you can connect with her through her socials, through her Facebook group. We'll put all the links down there and the link to pre-order her book, which, by the way, it looks like you can pre-order it on Amazon US. When I went to the link, it worked. So that's that. That's it. We're done here. We have plenty to do and think about. Thank you, Tina Mathams. Appreciate you. And everybody else, I hope you guys have a fantastic week. And I will talk to you later.